Welcome back, minions. The Night Below campaign takes a bit of a sidetrack as 2 regular players are absent, so the rest do a little recon mission. Also, a duel. The intrepid Kensai from 2 sessions ago made a level, so we'll look in on him briefly. Grab a snack, roll the opener, and let's do this. As is our fashion, the action is recreated using the Order of the Stick monster for every season cut-out minis. The players. Claude as Dub, neutral good dwarven thief, level 8. Dave as Lee, lawful good human monk, level 6. Grant as Kindreth, neutral good half-elven fighter cleric of Lathander, level 4/4. Sean as Phallus, chaotic good elven thief, level 4. Guest player Matt returns to the table as MacTavish, lawful good human kensai, level 2. We flash forward a few weeks from where we left off, as our session today opens up in Arabelle for a quick side event. The kensai MacTavish has just completed his level training, the spoils he earned from aiding in the battle with the ghouls being enough to give him a level. Matt rolls for MacTavish's level 2 hit points and scores a 3. And while Matt is exceedingly displeased at the turn and makes it known by whining to the table, it's important to note that his first level hit points were the maximum 10, so even at 13 hit points at level 2, he's still edging out the average. When a kensai completes their level training, there's a 10% chance per level of experience that another kensai of equal level will arrive and challenge them to a duel. The DM has Matt roll a d10, and a 1 or 2 indicates a challenge. Matt, still salty about his hit point roll, grumbles that he doesn't know why he's bothering, as it will turn up a duel that he'll inevitably lose. And in an epic show of self-fulfilling prophecy, the grumpy player's rolls turn up a 2. MacTavish is challenged by another kensai student of his master. The creed of the kensai means it's dishonorable to turn down such a request. Failure to meet the challenge means MacTavish will lose all of the XP he gained and return to level 1. Likewise, losing the duel carries the same penalty. The 2 combatants meet on the arena floor of the Fighters Academy in Arabelle, where such duels are legally sanctioned, and they prepare for battle. As is the custom for kensai, the warrior being challenged may dictate the terms. Not all fights need to be to the death, of course. Cowards. Make it interesting. Various win conditions are discussed, to concession, to the disarm, etc. But ultimately, MacTavish and his foe agree upon the condition of first strike. The duel begins using a homebrew dueling rule set that the DM has concocted for such things, rather than the traditional method of rolling initiative and taking turns. Instead, the strikes are determined by opposed rolls, where the skills of the contestants are compared. MacTavish, dual-wielding his axes, uses his offhand in an effort to enhance his defense by parrying while striking with his main hand. The first exchange ends in a stalemate. Neither contestant strikes a blow. The stakes are high. As per the Kensai class in the Oriental Adventures book, if MacTavish wins, he earns double the XP of his foe, but if he loses, it's back to the beginning of level 1. They ready up for round 2. The dice are rolled, but MacTavish's attempts to deflect his enemy's attacks with the offhand axe fail. But it's not over. His prime hand attack may yet sneak in. But alas, the compared roll sees MacTavish strike just edged out by his opponent, and he is struck first, thus concluding the duel. MacTavish is returned to 0 XP and must start all over again. That little side event complete? The action returns to Heronshire several weeks prior, where the main group is still investigating the goings-on. For this part of the game, Matt had planned on running his already established dwarf, Warmerlig Grumblegrog, but a misplaced character sheet meant that he was forced to make a new one on the spot instead. Sticking with the Dwarven Fighter Thief concept, Matt introduces Destrorum Barrelbrow, neutral good Dwarven Fighter Thief, level 1/1. The team is in Thurmaster. As both Les and Ron are absent for the session, Aneshk, Callus, and henchmen have taken the giant heads back to Lord Palfrey to update him and claim the reward. The rest of the team plans to continue investigations and meet up at Quipper's farm in Attende. The group has made the acquaintance of Destrurum, an adventurer out of Arabelle that is seeking his fortune. Being low on numbers, they are happy for the extra hand. There is discussion about what to do, and in the end they opt to travel to the Thornwood to scout the Broken Spire Keep, knowing it to be a one-time base of the Blood Skull Orcs, as well as the cleric Ranchifus, a priest of the new faith worshipping a being called Ace-Erik. After making sure they are supplied, the group travels to Thurmaster through the Redwood, heading towards Quipper's farm. The summer heat is oppressive, and many heat exhaustion rolls are checked. Destrorum has a constitution of 19, so he's easily able to endure the heat while the others struggle. Not too shabby, minions. A natural roll of 17 put to constitution on a dwarf enables that number. +1 for being a dwarf, and another +1 for being young. To be young and healthy again. After a day of travel, they make camp. During Phallus's watch, a woman arrives in camp, catching even the invisible elf by surprise. This is the Swanmay Ranger, Shiraz. Her arrival is the result of a random encounter check. She tells the group that she has come to see the shrine for herself based on Quipper's report, and the group offers to accompany her, which she accepts, and they break their camp to make their way to the White Temple of Gaia. The group is relieved that it hasn't reverted to some evil state, given their efforts to cleanse it in the first place. Shiraz tracks around while the others decide that a second search of the area couldn't hurt. Destrorum finds a loose block in the interior, and after several hours of chipping away, they pull a massive stone, revealing a cavity concealing a dwarven-made shortsword in a bundle. They make camp here near the temple, but satisfied with her own explorations, Shiraz bids them well and departs. The next morning, Kindrith augurs the sword, having realized that such an action might have prevented Octavius' death a few days prior. A result of wheel indicates that the sword is safe. Examining further, Dub reads the dwarven runes etched onto the blade, representing a troll, a hobgoblin, and a vampire. He surmises that the blade might have an effect against regenerating creatures, but he doesn't know how a hobgoblin factors into it. After packing up camp, they continue on to Quipper's farm, arriving after 2 days' total journey. The only thing of note along the way is a sighting in the river of a giant eel that locals have named Ol Bitey. There is no one around on the farm this time, no Quipper, no Maxim, or any other men. Despite an open invitation by Quipper to use his farm, they opt to continue on to the encampment of the soldiers by the passage to the Underdark. Noticeably more men are stationed there now. They make contact with the militia captain, who explains that Lord Carmen felt a greater armed presence was necessary given escalating events, as well as the absence of gods. Lee informs them that they plan to enter the Thornwood and scout the Broken Spire Keep, but the captain suggests that the thickness of the wood is risky without a guide. Lee asks if they can spare a man. A positive reaction has the captain offer to ask the men for a volunteer. Further, he asks if Aneshk will be joining any time, as he wishes the paladin to speak to the men to boost morale. The next day, a young woodsman and scout named Roland arrives, offering his services. The 6 adventurers go to the skiff moored near Quipper's farm and make their way across the Churnet, keeping an eye out for Old Bitey in case he causes trouble. But they safely make it across without issue. Following Hog's Brook, Roland leads the team through the woods. Following the river is easy enough, but once it ends, there's a 5-mile trek through thick terrain where it's easy to get lost. The summer heat continues, and heat exhaustion rolls abound, with many failures causing excess fatigue. Even the stout dwarf finally fails a roll. They cut the first day of travel in half and make camp in the shade where they can recoup. An encounter with a black bear yields some information as Lee uses his monkish speak with animals ability and offers it food. They learn that there are no other humans or humanoids in the immediate area, nor does the bear know of any man dens. Lee sends the bear away and the group continues to rest. In the morning, they pick up the trek after recovering from the heat exhaustion. The temperature cools a bit, cutting the heat somewhat. The travel day is uneventful, but the evening yields some excitement. During Dub and Desturum's watch, the 2 dwarves successfully avoid being surprised by 2 figures outside of the range of the firelight. They alert the group, waking them up. Lee helps Kindrith get into his banded armor, a quicker prospect than his full plate. A halting, deep voice commands them to surrender their gear and money or die. After a defiant no, the creatures attack by throwing spears at Dub. One connects. Dub, Lee, and an invisible Phallus move around towards the creatures, revealed to be a pair of bugbears. Phallus uses his invisible state to position behind, but the bugbear beats the trick when the surprise roll doesn't yield the elf any segments, and the bugbear gains initiative, turning to face the invisible enemy. Being invisible, he is harder to hit and withdraws from combat as Lee advances. Destrorum hides on the other side of the campfire, keeping watch for other attackers on that flank. Kindrith casts Hold Person into the area where the bugbears are engaged with Phallus. Because he can't see the targets, the DM rules that the blanket effect may also get his allies. He rolls and hits 3 targets, the 2 bugbears and Phallus. One of the bugbears succeeds on his saving throw, as does Phallus, but the final bugbear is held in place. Dub flings darts at the bugbear, connecting with 2 of the 3. Lee enters melee. Turning to face the monk, initiative is rolled and a tie is scored, giving the monk an extra attack due to the speed of his open hand strikes. But both attacks miss. Phallus ends the bugbear with a nasty backstab at triple damage for 22 total hit points. They finish off the held bugbear without hesitation. They claim some modest treasure and coin from the bugbears, then return to their rest. The next day they travel deeper into the Thornwood. Roland tells them that they probably have about a day of travel left. The rest of the journey is uneventful, and they arrive at the Broken Spire Keep after 4 days of travel through the thick tangled mess that is the Thornwood. That night they make camp out of line of sight of the keep and discuss a plan. Watches are set, and they wait until morning. Phallus scouts ahead invisibly, while the others wait at the tree line. Noticing the remnants of old traps and pits, Phallus plays it safe and goes slowly, checking for other traps. He does discover a pit trap covered in a tarp. He folds the corner of the tarp over so as to make it obvious to his friends. From below, they see an orc on the parapet occasionally pop up to look around. The bright sunlight renders the orc's vision limited, but nonetheless, the group is careful. Phallus discovers that the front gate is barricaded, so he scales the wall. On the parapet, 2 orcs are gambling and occasionally scanning the area around the keep, but they try to remain in the shade of a crude lean-to and out of direct sunlight. They are grumbling and gaming. Phallus continues to scout, getting the lay of the land. A line of smoke comes from a chimney on the other side of the keep. He moves along the battlement to the area and listens. He hears more orc voices, but he can't make out what's being said. He climbs back down and returns to the group to report. The plan is for Dub, Lee, and Phallus to enter the keep and destroy the barriers so the rest can enter, as well as dispatching the 2 parapet guards without raising an alert. Phallus returns to the keep, invisible, and scales the wall ready to kill the orcs. Lee and Dub wait for the orc to pop up, and then when he goes back down, they sprint to the wall. The DM calls for the monk to check surprise, which he easily makes. 2 crossbow bolts are fired at him through arrow slits on the main floor. One misses, and the other hits with a 19. But once again, Lee's monkish ability to deflect missiles sees him safe from harm. An alert is sounded, and the 2 parapet guards muster with their crossbows. Destrorum shoots from the tree line but misses. Meanwhile, Phallus positions himself and ends the 2 orcs with some crunchy backstabs. He then reasserts the invisibility from his ring and watches. 6 orcs emerge from the main building, and 2 from the building directly beneath him. After calling up to the guards Phallus just killed, the orcs realize something is up and withdraw into the building. Phallus heads to the ground level and clears the obstructions at the main gate to allow the rest entry. The team swiftly explores every area to make sure nothing and no one is hiding. Then they enter the main building. When no orcs are found on the main level, they quickly surmise that the orcs descended to the lower level. Phallus quickly descends only to find a repaired and shut door at the base of the stairs. Having their recon information and confirming that the Blood Skull Orcs have indeed reclaimed the keep, the team decides that it's time to depart and report. They gather Roland and make their 4-day journey back to Quipper's farm for the rendezvous with Anesh. Only minor animal encounters are rolled, which are easily hand-waved away as Lee has sway over normal animals. So the team arrives back at the farm to wait for their meeting with Anesh and Callus. The session concludes there. A bit of a side adventure, minions, as 2 of the regulars were absent, a little recon by those who could attend to set up the next leg of their investigations. Plus, a kensai duel. The kensai duel was resolved since Matt was present, and it was worth getting done, even though MacTavish otherwise wouldn't have been able to participate in the rest of today's session. The DM here is fond of kensai, so they are an allowed class beyond the normal usual options from the player's handbook. Kensai are indeed a fascinating class. Half monk, half fighter. They get some neat abilities, as well as some harsh restrictions. Glass cannon duelists, a kensai's offensive output used strategically, can overwhelm many enemies, though their inability to wear armor makes them potentially vulnerable in mass combats. As previously mentioned, each time a kensai levels up, there's a 10% chance per level that they will be challenged. This is not a class for the impatient player who wants to top out as soon as possible. It's a challenging slow burn with some marvelous rewards along the way. The reset back to the beginning of the previous level will undoubtedly rankle many players, but the solution is simple. If you don't like it, don't play a kensai. The DM here is a little more lenient on that front, however, as well as with the more common undead level drain, in that once a character has lost levels for which they have trained, regaining the level through normal progression doesn't require retraining. And in the case of the kensai, no roll for further duels. When McTavish returns and levels back to level 2, he can simply get his already established hit point roll and level 2 bonuses. When he hits level 3, it's back to business as usual with regards to training and checks for another challenger. The Night Below campaign events continue, as this is the first time since Team Evil departed in Session 13 that the group has investigated the Broken Spire Keep. Since so much time has elapsed, it seemed logical that the Blood Skull Orcs would reclaim such a valuable outpost. Today's group scouting the location means that they have the intel going forward, but what they do with that is anyone's guess. The random encounter tables here did much of the heavy lifting for today's session. Encountering Shiraz was out of the blue, but serves to give this team a direct acquaintance with the ranking ranger of the region. Of course, any active ranger is already acquainted with her, so these characters already have an indirect relationship. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, where things start hitting into high gear as the team careens towards the culprits behind the kidnappings. New villains will be revealed, and the simmering plot in Heronshire boils over. We are only a few episodes from the conclusion of Book 1, The Evils of Heronshire. I can't wait to see where this goes. And keep watch of my summons, minions. And ta for now.